communication. So now we are dealing with a very important topic, and this topic is really important for each one as a human being who is trying to communicate with the people. So when we try to communicate, we are not verbally communicating only. We are using various methods to communicate. So in detail, we will discuss those methods. And if you think that only verbal communication is so much important, this is not the case. When it comes to communication, rest of the factors which we never considered before are more important than the verbal communication you are doing. So how these factors or communication methods will impact your verbal communication, that today you are going to learn. So now onwards, you have to not be effective only in verbal communication, but as well as the communication which is accompanied with the verbal communication you are doing, right? So you are uh, going through in detail for that communication which are also accompanied with verbal communication. Okay, so those are the methods of communication or types of communication. So in the exam, for the exam point of view also, you may have a question into the question paper that what are the methods, different methods of communication or types of communication. So you can go in detail and you can just write about. As well as there will be a question like explain the verbal and non-verbal communication methods, right? So these are the questions could be asked, and there will be specific questions on the specific type of or method of communication, right? So you have to understand it in detail, in depth, right? And it will be fun to learn actually. You will just enjoy it. If you have questions in between, then your questions will be welcome. As I always encourage to have discussion into the classroom as well as when we engage in lectures. It's not a one-way process. It's a two-way process. As a learner, you have to need to also understand everything I'm going to explain to you. Okay, so if you have a question, you can raise, right? So starting the topic, as I have given a pie chart here, and you can see there are two methods of the communication we are using in our day-to-day life. And when it comes to methods of communication, we have basically two broad methods for the communication. Those are verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So when it comes to verbal and non-verbal communication, how much it contributes to our day-to-day communication, it may be professional as well as personal, formal as well as informal, but it contributes in the same way. So verbal communication can contribute up to 35% of the communication you are doing daily, and remaining 65% is contributed through non-verbal communication. But we are not aware when we communicate verbally that non-verbal communication is equally or more than important than the verbal communication. It's definitely more important or contributing more than the verbal communication. So in non-verbal communication, basically we can say facial expressions, tone of voice, movement, appearance, eye contact, gestures, and postures are coming. So through which you are also communicating. You can set this example. If a teacher comes to the classroom and like a statue, he stands at one place without moving his hands, not making an eye contact with the students, start to communicate verbally. So do you think that communication will be effective? Certainly not. When somebody is talking to you, apart from the words he is using or she is using, he or she has to also need to use non-verbal communication, and it is not consciously used, but unconsciously you are also communicating non-verbally, and that's why it is easy to understand if somebody is making fun on you or lying to you, right? Through the non-verbal communication. Maybe the words he is using are different, but through the body language, you are getting different messages, right? So it's easy to track through the non-verbal communication effectively than the verbal communication, right? So non-verbal communication is more important than the verbal communication. Okay. So when you are thinking in a broad way, what are the types or methods of communication? We can divide them based on the importance and the channels or the types or the methods we have. So basically, the types of the communication can be divided broadly into categories, the based on the communication channels. Okay, which channels we are using to communicate. So we have a categories based on that, and apart from that, based on the style and the purpose of the communication you have. So it would be divided on these broad two types: the channels you are using for communication, and the purpose and style you have for the communication you are doing. So when we think about the channels, basically broadly we have a verbal and non-verbal channels of the communication or types of the communication. And in verbal we have oral communication as well as written communication, right? But you have to understand that when we think about the oral communication as well as written communication, these are known as verbal communication because we are producing the sound to communicate. Whereas when we communicating non-verbally, we are not producing the sound, or the sound which are produced, when you are communicating non-verbally, those may be different sounds, combination of the sounds, and they will have a different meaning in different situations, right? But in oral communication, that's not the case. When you are using verbally, those meanings of those words will be the same in every situation, right? So that is the difference. But if I say even the verbal communication is a part of the non-verbal communication, or it may be considered as a non-verbal communication also. So do you agree with me?
Yes.
Did you understand what I say to you?
So can you repeat?
So my question is, if I say that the verbal and verbal communication we are using is also a kind of non-verbal communication. So do you agree with me? Think over it. Maybe some silly answers I'm expecting. I can explain it to you. See, when we think about the oral and written communication, so this is coming into the category of verbal communication. Verbal communication means which is not non-verbal. These are exactly opposite, right? When we see about the verbal communication, we are not considering the non-verbal communication into it. But it is said by the experts who study the language, they said that the verbal communication or written communication you are doing is a part of non-verbal communication itself. So do you agree with it? Can you understand what I am asking to you?
Sir, might be some sentence intentional.
Right. See, my point is when we communicate verbally, we are also using the symbols. Words are the symbols, sounds are the symbols. So when we are using the symbols, it's coming into the category of non-verbal communication. And basically, when we think about the written communication, it's non-verbal because the words you are using are nothing but the symbols. Through the symbols, you are communicating. But written communication is coming into category of oral communication because when you try to get the message from the written communication, try to read it, and when you read, you are producing the sound. Maybe you are asking me the question now that, sir, when we read, we can also do the silent reading. Yes, when you do the silent reading, but it has a pronunciation attached with it. So that's why written communication is coming into the category of oral communication. Otherwise, written communication could have also come into the category of non-verbal communication. And even we are communicating verbally, sounds, words you are using, pronunciation you are using, intonation, patterns, accent, etc. Also a part of non-verbal communication. In detail, you will going to learn about it. So after the end of this lecture, I will ask the same question to you. So at that time, you should be ready with me, ready with the answers, right? So that's my concern. So that's why I raise the question now. So at the end of this topic, I will just ask you the same question and you have to provide me explanation, whichever way you stand for, against or for, but you have to provide me the valid explanation. Okay? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
So much jana bachcho. Study it because it's interesting, and if you understand it, then you will understand the topic in detail. and you will enjoy it if you understand it. You will have the host of the questions if you understand. If you don't understand, you will not have any question for that, right? So based on the communication channel, we have verbal and non-verbal channel of communication, and based on the style and the purpose, we have formal and informal communication. I will explain in detail all these channels. Now, coming to the methods or types of the communication, in verbal communication, we have speaking and writing, as we have already seen in the previous slide. And in non-verbal communication, we have the communication where we are not using words directly, right? So that's known as non-verbal communication. So into it, the body language, whichever body language you will do at the time of communication is coming into this category. Then the visual symbols, pictures, charts, maps, colors are known as the visual symbols. And apart from it, paralanguages. So what is paralanguage? When you are communicating, you will have a high pitch, low pitch, speed, rate, volume. So these are impacting your way of communication. And that paralanguage is also coming into the category of non-verbal communication. Okay. So we will study in detail all these types of the methods of the communication. Now we are learning about the verbal or oral communication, and into it we have two categories. So in verbal communication, first is the face-to-face communication. When we try to communicate each other while somebody is standing before us. Nowadays, through the technology, we are doing the face-to-face communication when we are calling on video, right? Then telephonic conversation, the person who you want to talk to is not available physically at a place you are standing or sitting, then you will call to that person and have the communication. So that is a telephonic conversation. Then the presentations. Presentation is also coming into the category of verbal communication because you are communicating verbally, though you are using some of the presentations, slide, charts, etc., pictures for that. Then the interview. This is also kind of face-to-face communication, we can say. Group discussions. Group discussions can be done verbally or in a speaking mode. Then public speaking is also kind of the verbal communication. And the meetings, where you want to transact the business messages to the people who are dealing with the same business, right? So those are the meetings. Formally, we can say when we arrange a meeting, that could be the verbal communication you are doing. In writing, we have letters. We tend to write letters, formal, informal letters, mails, etc. Then the memos. Memos are issued to complete a particular task, to instruct someone, or to correct the action done by the person. Then notices are issued to the number of the or n number of the people to inform someone. Then circulars, for the same reason, in formal organizations, circulars are being used as the laws, regulations, or modifications of the laws. So those circulars can be circulated to the n number of the organization to inform about the particular activity or law which has been changed. Then the reports. Reports are nothing but a kind of the records which are already recorded on a particular happening, situation, or a problem, right? Even verbal records are there, or reports are there when we say that a person who is telecasting a particular event could be the report, right? Or when the press reports are being telecasted, it may be in a formal, informal way, in oral format, those could be also considered as a report. Then we have the minutes. Minutes are nothing but the recorded of the happenings when we call the formal meeting. So what happened into that meeting, it will be recorded, and that record will be known as the minutes of meeting, right? So all these kinds of the or types of the verbal communication, right? Now, first of all, going into detail the verbal communication and non-verbal communication, first of all, we will see what are the advantages and disadvantages of the verbal communication or oral communication. So when we see the advantages and disadvantages, these are the easy to understand and easy to know. So when you think about the advantages of the oral communication, you will have the immediate feedback. Before also I talked to you that when you are talking one-to-one, face-to-face, you will get the immediate feedback. When you are asking me question now, I will give the answer right now. Right? So you are getting immediate feedback into the verbal communication. That's the advantage of the oral communication. Then you will have the less formality as compared to the written communication, where you need to type or write a letter. It requires more formality. Whereas whenever you talk to the senior level of the authority, also you can directly go to his cabin and can have a talk. So that requires less formality. Then mass communication can be possible, as well as in written communication also mass communication can possible. But whenever you want to deliver the quick messages, this is done through the verbal communication. For an example, if the cyclone is coming into the particular region, so government may use mass media to instruct the people of that region so they can get alert. So this could also be done by the written communication, but it requires more time as compared to the verbal communication. So mass communication can be possible effectively with the verbal communication. Then verbal communication is flexible and adaptive. It means that you can use the n number of the things to explain the same thing. For an example, if you are not able to understand a particular topic, a concerned teacher will use different techniques at the same time to convey you effectively, and you can understand it. It is not possible through the written communication, because written communication could be typed and it is not easy to alter it or change it. But it is not a case with the verbal communication, and it's easy to adopt. You can understand it effectively. Then it has swift and speed as well. So when we think about the verbal communication, you can talk to the n number of the things in a very short term span of the time, right? And people can understand more or get more information through the verbal communication. Then it's economical. So you can save your money while having the verbal communication. Nowadays, calls are costed very less as compared to previously. So when it comes to the verbal communication, you can have a direct talk with someone. It doesn't require much expenses as compared to the written communication, for which you need to type, write. So that particular devices you should have, or you have to go somewhere and then you have to do your work. So as compared to the written communication, it's very economical. Then some of the disadvantages are here into the oral communication. Can you have a guess of any disadvantage of the oral communication? Any guess you have as compared to the written communication?
The
Student.
disturbances,
Yeah, disturbances
dis-
can be possible into the verbal communication. Apart from it,
people who are deaf or I mean dumb, I mean
what?
who can't speak, people who can't speak and hear, they may lack in oral communication.
You're not audible. Can you speak it clearly? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, can you repeat?
Yeah, I was saying that people who are not, I mean, who are not able to hear and speak, they
No,
lag behind
that
in oral
advantage of
communication.
oral communication. Okay, right? Apart from it,
accent of that language
yes, yes.
of a person.
So sometimes we are not able to understand due to the accent of the people, right? Then, so these are very common things we are talking about.
So language barriers.
Yes,
So language barriers of oral communication.
yes, language barrier could be there, right? Okay, acceptable. Then, okay, I was thinking about in a formal situation, what will be the disadvantage of oral communication? Whatever the points were you have already discussed with me were good, but those were applicable into the informal communication. Informal communication, any guess you have?
So
Okay.
confidence.
Yes, confidence for the speaking. Yes, for speaking requires more confidence than writing. Okay, good. That's the biggest problem we have, right? Apart from it,
When we have anything in return, we have the proof of it.
for we are talking about the advantage or disadvantage of it. Disadvantage, right?
Disadvantage.
Yeah, we don't have the proof when we do talk to someone, right?
Yes.
Yeah, acceptable, right? Apart from it,
Body language.
such questions could be asked in the exam. Differentiate between the verbal and differentiate between the oral and written communication, right? So there you can discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of both, right? So let's see some of the formal disadvantages. It's legally invalid, as explained by one of the students, that you cannot have a record. You may have an argument that we can record the recording of the oral communication, but it will not be legally valid into the court, right? So it's not legally valid because you cannot produce it, and if you produce it, nobody will uh, uh, rely on it or trust it, because nowadays many softwares are available where you can do the modification of voice, right? So it's legally invalid. Then chance of misinterpretations are happening into the verbal communication. The person wanted to convey something and you understood something. This is acceptable into the verbal communication, whereas compared to the written communication, whatever message is being typed, there are less chances of misinterpretation of that message. So that's why when it comes to the instructions, important notices, the communication is done through the written communication only. It for the record purpose as well, and there should be no misinterpretation of it. For an example, how the misinterpretation will happen when that communication is happening from the channel to channel, it may be misinterpreted. I can tell you an example for that. Suppose if the management has taken a certain decision for the students and management asks that these instructions could be given, and there are 10 instructions given for the students, and those are submitted to the principal. Now what the principal did, because of saving the time and he or she has to attend some important meeting, he just verbally talked to the HODs, those 10 instructions, and asked them to convey it to the concerned students. Now those HODs will try to understand those 10 instructions, and you know that when the 10 instructions will be issued, all of them will not be able to remember all 10 instructions in the same manner she has told or he has told to them, right? So they will just understand it and will say that yes ma'am, we will instruct the students. Now what they will do, they will not talk directly to the students, but they will tell those instructions to the class advisors. When they will instruct to the class advisors, there will be modification because they don't have a written record of it, right? So modification will be done by them. Then when the class advisor will convey that message to the students, again there will be a modification of it. So likewise, there will be a chance of misinterpretation when verbally messages are sent from one channel to the other channel, from one person to the other person, right? And if you would have been in the classroom, you could have enjoyed this activity, right? And you would have been understood how the misinterpretations are done by the people when it passes from one person to the other person, right? So chance of misinterpretation could be, we can say, are mostly affecting to verbal communication. It could be like rumors are being passed through the verbal communication. Situation is different, and when the last person receives the same message, it's different. So modification is done by everyone. Okay, this is not valid with the written communication. Same document can pass through the various channels, and the same message could be delivered, right? Then misunderstanding. Sometimes we cannot understand the message fully and we assume that we have understood it. So misunderstanding can happen. Then it's not helpful to remember. You cannot remember it for a longer. When it comes to the listening skills, I will let you know how you are not able to remember the messages which are delivered, and if it is coming to the time span, you will not remember it any longer, right? It's natural when human being listens to any message, he drops up to 50% immediately after it. For an example, whatever discussion I'm doing with you now into the lecture, if I ask you to convey the same information after the lecture, you will summarize this information within 5 minutes, 2 minutes, or 1 minute as well, right? But you cannot be able to remember everything I am talking to you. So this could be possible with the verbal communication. It's not helpful to remember everything, right? Now, after discussing the advantages and disadvantages of the oral communication, we are talking about the advantages of the written communication as well as disadvantages. So first and foremost, it's legally valid. You can reproduce it n number of the time. After 10 years also, the same messages could be prepared or produced with the legal document, and it could be recorded as well, right? So it's legally valid. And when it comes to give the detail of the information, it's possible through the written communication. So that's why for your study, for the formula, you have a written books, right? So through which it will provide the detailed information and will not miss anything. Then it's easy to produce anytime, as I said it. You can prepare n number of the copies for it. Then it's perfect. Whenever you want to deliver the message, it will perfectly deliver the same message without altering it. Then it could have a permanent record for the whichever purpose you have used that particular communication, right? For several years also you can produce it. And here also you will have a scope to make the changes. But while making the
Hello, sir.
yes. Yes.
Sir,
Yeah. Ask me.
one student from HG division is not unable to join.
What is the reason?
Sorry, sir.
What problem is he facing?
Hello, sir.
What problem he has? What message he is getting? Is he in waiting room? Hello?
Yes, sir.
What's the problem he is facing? I'm asking to you. What message he is
Sir,
getting?
I will just a minute.
Because see, I
Couldn't connect to the video call. Sir, due to the 100 people
Nobody shared on the
in the
WhatsApp
meeting.
as well and through the mail also, and nobody has the issue.
Sir, he is joining through mail, but he couldn't join.
Same thing. It may be on the part of his network connection, but here I can't say anyone who is waiting to join, right? So I don't have any issue here. It will be on his part. Okay. Right. I just check it out. Nobody is waiting to join here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can't do anything now on my part from here. Okay. And the students who are joining and leaving the meeting, remember that I could have a record of it also. How many times you left and joined to the meeting. So don't do it because your attendance will not be marked then. If you don't have a genuine reason for it, it may be due to the network, can happen once or twice, but not regularly. Okay. So those two students who are joining and leaving in every lecture, I will track them. Okay, and I will not mark their attendance. Apart from it, many of the students are not joining to the classes. Remember that your attendance will be checked when you are appearing for the test, oral, viva, etc. So you are not allowed for those activities. Okay, to take it seriously, we are going to share the defaulter list now in this week. Okay, this is specifically for Division H students. Inform all your classmates, friends to join the lectures regularly. If they have the issues, write the letter, post it into the WhatsApp group. We will sort out the problems. On our level best, we are trying. But do not give an excuse, sir, I had issues, I couldn't join to the meeting. That will not be accepted. Okay, and the attendance is very less. Convey this message to the students who are not joining to the classes. I will also convey this message to Clay and will take the action as well. So it will be communicated to the parents, right? Don't take it lightly. Whatever problems you have, you are free to talk to us. But without any reason, if you are not joining to the lectures, will be taken seriously. And whatever will happen to your consequences, you will be responsible. Do not approach to us then. We'll also communicate to the principal as well about it, so that you won't have any chance for the excuse. So this is the last I'm instructing to you. Join the lectures regularly without fail. Okay. So we are talking or discussing about the advantages and disadvantages of the written communication. Then it has a scope to make the changes. Maybe it is a difficult process. First of all, you have to take the same message and modify it in a written. So it takes time, but certainly you can make the changes into the written communication. Then disadvantages, it's very slow and time consuming. When somebody is writing to you, you have to also give the right response into the written. And when you are also writing the message to someone, it takes time to type it, then to print it, and then send it. Nowadays, we can use the emails. For the emails also, you will type the email completely, you will deliver it to the concerned person. When that person will see that mail, he will respond to you. So it takes time. It's not as compared to the oral communication, where it's fast and speedy. Then it's difficult to change. When a circular is being issued by the organization, you cannot do the modification to that information. As well as once you type the message and send it, it cannot be modified. You have to just write it again and then you can send it again. So it's difficult to change. For oral communication, you can at the same time do the modification. Then it has delayed feedback. So this is the biggest advantages of the written communication we have. Because the person will receive, will prepare the information, and then he will send you the feedback in a written format. So it takes time. Then it's limited to the only literate people. The people who are illiterate will not understand the written communication. They cannot read it, and so that they cannot understand the message. So it's valid only for the literate people. Then it wastes so much time because you have to type, use different resources, then send it to the mail or post mail. So it takes time, so much time as compared to the oral communication. Now that was about the verbal communication. You know verbal communication, so I'm not covering it in detail, but some of the parts I'm going to cover. And comparing to the non-verbal communication, we will go in detail. So whichever methods of the verbal communication we learned, you know what is the presentation, meetings, etc. So those are the effective ways of verbal communication. We are dealing in detail with depth for the non-verbal communication. So in non-verbal communication, all these are the types or the methods through which you can do non-verbal communication. Now, when it comes to non-verbal communication, first we have is the facial expressions. As we communicate to each one, you intend it or you don't intend it, you will do the facial expressions, right? Then we have a gestures. Gestures are nothing but the body movements we do at the time of communication. It will be the hands movement, legs movement, neck rotations. Those are known as gestures. Next, posture. Posture is the standing position you have. So I will go in detail. I'm just briefly telling you what is it, right? So posture means how you stand and communicate while you are communicating to the people. Then we have a proxemics. Proxemics is nothing but when you communicate to the people, we are maintaining some distance with them. It's not like that you are standing at an unknown place and you will move to the unknown person very close, right? So based on the relationship we have with that person, we could have closeness with that, or there will be a distance. So that's known as proxemics. The distance maintained in between the people when you are communicating. Then we have a chronemics. So what is chronemics? Chronemics means when you are using the time to communicate with someone. So that's known as chronemics. Chronemics word originates from chronology. Then we have a haptics. Haptics is known as the communication done by touch. We have a devices through which we can communicate with the haptics, as well as in communication also we do have a touch. We make handshakes, we hug each other. That's known as haptics. Then oculesics. Oculesics is the kind of communication we do through the eye contact. Sometimes we don't make the eye contact, sometimes we stare at the people, sometimes we make healthy eye contact. So that's known as oculesics. And rest of it, handshakes. You know, handshakes, we can meet the people, we can make the handshakes with those people. Then objectics. When you are using communication with the objects, artifacts, is known as objectics. For an example, when you are attending a program, it may be the wedding or a party, it may be a birthday party. At that time, you are taking a gift with you. So it's a kind of communication you are doing. With the gifts, you are communicating that you are happy and offering the gifts to them, right? Then olfactics. Olfactics is the communication done by use of smell. So through the smell also we are communicating. We'll see in later on. And the gustorics. Gustorics is the communication of the taste. When somebody is preparing a dish for you which you like most, it's a communication done by the taste. Alright, so these are all kinds of the non-verbal communication where you cannot use the words, but you are communicating some positive, negative messages. Okay, let's see in detail. And as I am explaining you again, at the beginning itself, I gave you the pie chart through which you understood how the communication is done, verbal and non-verbal communication. So as you can see, when it comes to the verbal communication, this is very important. You are using the simple words, you are using the difficult words, you are using the smart words, you are flawless. So whatever kind of communication you are doing to the spoken word, it will form only 7% of the impact, right? So when you are using the communication verbally only, without making an eye contact or not using the body language, it will only form the 7% of the impact on the people. Then 30 or 38% of the impact could be from voice and tone. As you can see, somebody when doing the presentation, if he is very confident, it is conveyed through the voice, tone, volume, speed of speaking, etc. Through which you can understand if the person has prepared well, has the confidence, or will do it effectively. So that contributes up to the 38%. And remaining 55% is done through the body language, the standing position, gestures, postures, right? So that could be contributing up to 55%, right? So if you compare here 38 plus 55, it means up to 93% of the communication is done by your body language only. I say 93%, and remaining 7% only it's done through the oral words. So that's why I said to you that non-verbal communication is more important as compared to the verbal communication. Okay. Now we'll see the first element into the verbal communication. No, sorry, non-verbal communication. So that's facial expressions. So facial expressions are more powerful than the words. Nowadays we are using emoticons, not using the words to communicate our emotions. Because through the facial expression you can convey how you are feeling. Words may fall short for that, but facial expressions could convey the message in a right manner, right? Then facial expression convey our mood and attitude about the person and situation. As soon as the person will stand before you, you will see him, you will have a certain facial expression. It may be a smile, it may be a stare, right? So it will convey what you're thinking and attitude about that person as well as your mood of that particular time. So facial expressions are powerful. Then facial expressions are more effective when accompanied by the verbal speaking. When somebody, the person we like, we meet to them, we have a smile, we say hello, right? Everything changes. So that it means that when we are using facial expression with verbal communication and we are using it, intentionally or unintentionally, right? So it accompanied with the verbal speaking, it will have more impact and effective. So these are the kind of some of the emoticons I just chosen, through which you can convey various messages or emotions when you are using them into the communication. Irritation, as you can see. So these are the emoticons. You are using them effectively on WhatsApp, on social media. Apart from it, we have in detail, in depth kind of the facial emoticons we can use to communicate our messages effectively, right? So my point is facial expressions are very powerful. And when it comes to the facial expressions, a single face can convey up to 65 types of different emotions or moods. So that's the power of one face. Okay. So you need to understand what is the importance of the facial expression, right? So do the facial expressions effectively in your communication so that in verbal communication you will be more effective, right? Then gestures. So when it comes to gestures, what is it? First of all, we see. So it means the movement of the body, hands movement, and the nodding. So gestures tends to do a particular part of the body movement. It will be hands movement, neck rotation, eye contact. So that particular of the body movement you are doing is known as the gestures, right? So sometimes when you are standing before, you are not moving the whole body, but the part of that body is relating to the gestures. So it can convey nervousness when you are scratching your head, looking down, playing with the buttons of the shirts. It conveys nervousness. Then appreciation, clapping is kind of the appreciation you are doing. It means the person is welcome. Aggression. Your body will change when you will have the aggression. It will stand in stiff position and you will stare at someone. And confidence, as you will stand up, will make an eye contact with someone. It conveys your confidence. Rejection, you just lower your head, right? Not happy into that situation. Or when you are not making an eye contact with that person, it stands for rejection. Confusion through the facial expressions also, through your body language also you can convey the confusion. Uncertainty and trust also could be conveyed through the gestures. So I will explain in detail into the coming slides how it is conveyed through the gestures when you have particular mood and emotion with you. And gestures are natural accompaniment of your speech. When you try to maintain gestures intentionally, you cannot maintain them intentionally. For an example, when you are unhappy and you want to just show that you are happy, through the words you can convey it, but through your body language you cannot convey it because it's a natural accompaniment of your body expressions, right? So when somebody is ill, have a sickness, through his body language you can understand that the person is not feeling well. Though maybe through the facial expressions and smiling and talking to you, he try to convey that he is healthy, but it's not possible because gestures can be accompaniment naturally whenever you try to communicate verbally or intentionally, but it will convey the message what your internal feelings are, right? So you cannot fool someone while making the gestures or planning the gestures. As you can see some of the examples here. This is the first picture where that person is putting his hands into the pocket and see the stiff posture, the position, standing position of that person. So it conveys that he is having the fear and is not feeling confident. Second figure also talks the same thing. He is playing with the button. So it means that he doesn't have the confidence on about don't know what to talk next. So when you are facing the people publicly, like in this position, people tend to understand that you are not confident. Okay. Next. Now see this person when somebody is standing like this. Now you might be thinking that this is a style through which the people are conveying that they are smart. But this is not the case. When somebody is crossing the arms, when you are talking to that person, it means he has no interest with talking to you, right? So the people who tend to So stand like this into the photograph or tend to face the people like this, have the message that they are busy in something, thinking something, and they are not ready to have a healthy talk. Right? So this is the gesture done by the people, intentionally or unintentionally. See, there are some of the changes when you have the same gesture. For an example, full arm cross gesture. Right? So there you can see the fist of that person. So into this situation, the person is very defensive. For an example, if you are attending a meeting and one X person is being blamed for the reason or the problem occurred, and when that person is sitting like in this position, so he is trying to defend himself and will convey, when he will speak, will convey the message that he is very aggressive and not ready to listen on this particular matter. Right? As you can see the next picture here, a superior type of the gesture here. Look at the thumbs he is making here. So it means that person is feeling superior about the situation into that particular scenario. So when the person is sitting before you, will have a proper gestures like this, you can understand without having a talk with that person what message he is communicating and what feelings or attitude he has about you. Next slide. In the slide here, the first one, the partial arm gesture. As you can see, the partial arm gesture here, this is could be known as the barrier. So when somebody is talking, standing like this, sometimes you may have an experience of it when a guest is coming and students or the receivers are standing like this, they will have the partial arm gesture. So this means that the person is lacking the self-confidence and about clueless what the next thing is going to happen. Right? So when you are going to some program and the people are standing like this, you can understand the message, what they are feeling about. Then the next picture, as you can see here, this guy's nervousness. Look at the posture, gesture made by him of the hands. Right? He is buttoning himself. So it means that the person is in a disguised arm cross gestures. This is mostly done by the people who are going to face a meeting and they know that the things they are going to talk will not be effective into that meeting, and they are also not very much information they have about the issue. Right? So this person with these guys will make eye contact, will make a fake smile and try to talk or convey something. But that the gestures made by him, people will understand it. Then the third picture, you can see handbag used to form a barrier. Folding something, hiding something, holding it close to the chest or the heart, it means they are hiding something from to speak. Right? And they need not to open up the internal feelings they have. And that's why they are making a partial barrier to it. Right? So this is a gesture made by the people into that particular condition or the scenario, and through which you will understand it better. Okay, students, please mark your attendance. The link is open for 4 minutes only. At 11:15, the link will be closed automatically. Please do mark your attendance now. I am stopping here. If you have any further questions regarding the topic, you can ask me now. As I said to you that you should have
where is the attendance link?
You can use the previous link. If you don't have it, then I will share it with you. Don't worry about it. I'm sharing. If you don't get the previous one, I will share it.